Welcome everyone back to the arena. Today we have Dean Lauvina. Dean is a luxury real estate agent. He owns the page Deanchicagoliving, which some of you may be familiar with, especially my Chicago peeps, where he highlights properties in Chicago, including my own, to a following of more than 300,000 people across different social media platforms. So why don't I mean first of all, thank you, Dean, for being here. Dean's actually above me right now. Not that you guys care, but he's above me, about 15 floors above me. So why don't we start off with who is Dean Lauvina?
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mike, for having me on the show. I'm excited to chat with you guys. Yeah, my name is Dean. I am originally from Bourbonnais, Illinois. Um, I attended the University of Illinois at Chicago. I've been in the city since 2015. I graduated in 2019, and from there, my original plan was to go to school for physical therapy. Decided to change paths. I figured that wasn't for me. I fell out of love with the idea of physical therapy, and like I didn't really want to go to school for 3 years to go to graduate graduate school and stuff like that. But I was always super passionate about helping people, and I loved being in the city. After having been here for 4 years, and so real estate kind of like fell into my lap. I had a friend that was posting on social media like all these, you know, high rise apartments and stuff like that. And at the time, I thought she was a consultant. So I just hit her up. I just, was like, hey, Christine, I see what you're posting on social media. I think, what you're showing off is pretty cool. And I was just, kind of curious. So I asked her, I was like, what are you doing nowadays? Like, I thought you were, working as a consultant. She was like, no, like I decided to give that up. I got into real estate recently, and so I've been like leasing out apartments downtown. And I was like, that sounds cool. I kind of want to get into that. Not really enjoying what I'm doing because at the time I was bouncing around between different roles just to kind of like keep my head above water, whether it be like remote sales or um, I was doing a little bit of like physical therapy assistant or like aid work on the side and just trying different side hustles to make money. But yeah, I wasn't really enjoying that. And so she was able to hook me up with this gig. And then instantly fell in love with it. I closed my first deal. I got addicted to the whole process. I also really just loved the experience of going about Chicago, exploring different neighborhoods, helping a client from A to Z find their, dream home. And yeah, so I've been doing that for the past 3.5, 4 years at this point. And then I started doing social media about a year and a half ago. So I kind of took after Caleb Simpson, who asked people in New York, how much they pay for rent in New York. And so I really wanted to implement that sort of content in Chicago. I noticed that no one was really doing it in Chicago, and I also noticed that too. He was kind of doing it just for pure entertainment. And so I wanted to tie it into business. I wanted to be able to educate people, especially those that aren't in Chicago and aren't familiar with the neighborhoods here. And so take that sort of series, copy and paste it over here in Chicago, and tie it in business. And it kind of worked out. I have a bunch of people reaching out to me on TikTok and Instagram asking for help, finding their apartment here in the city. And I'm having people from like out of country at at this point now too, like hitting me up. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've been doing that for the past couple of years, and have been really enjoying it. So
So we'll get to the social media piece, but let's go back a little bit. What do we need to know, or what should we know? What would be helpful to know about your upbringing, your childhood, if you will, in order to kind of better understand, the man that you are today?
yeah, so I'm a first generation. My family, both of my parents immigrated from the Philippines. Had a pretty normal childhood, to be honest. One thing that a lot of people don't know about me, even my closest friends, is for the first 5, 6 years of my life, we actually grew up in a trailer park. So it's like right off the highway. People wouldn't know what it is anymore because now it's a dealership actually. But yeah, for the first 5 or 6 years of my life, we grew up in a trailer park. It was just me. my younger brother Nathan, and then my two parents. Um, Grew up there. Then we moved into our home that we live in now in Bourbonnais. Pretty much been there since then. But yeah, like I mentioned, pretty normal childhood. Went to a small school, like a small elementary school. Went to our local high school, Bradley Bourbonnais Community High School. Um, Played soccer pretty much all my life, so I started playing soccer at the age of 8, and yeah, played that all throughout high school. Played that a little bit in college, not for the team, but like intramurals and stuff like that. So soccer has been a huge part of my life, huge part of my brother's life. But because my town was so small, my brother and I actually had to go up north in order to, like, I guess, play against better competition and put ourselves in like a better position for us to get like recruited by colleges and stuff like that. So 2 to 3 times a week we would have to go up to Lamont for practice, and yeah, we had college coaches that were pretty intense. They were from Laos, and so they put us through the ringer, and I would say they kind of picked on me and my brother because we were like the Asians of the of our team, and so they picked us on there, and then they really just did so out of like they looked at us like almost like nephews. So they really wanted us to succeed in the sport and be successful there. But yeah, I played for that club, Winnie City Pride, and that was pretty much that. You know,
What'd your parents do for work?
yeah. So my parents, they're both nurses. My dad works in the emergency room, and my mom works as in the PACU. Hmm.
So I guess like having grown up starting, in a trailer park,
Yeah,
I'm sure that comes with certain relationship building with money, in terms
yeah,
of like, feeling maybe insecure financially to now you're in a position where you're going through the school system. There is an ability to kind of build out a career path and start to like build off of that. And going from like PT to then real estate to then now it's like content creating with real estate. What has that like level of guidance been from your parents growing up in terms of like how to think about career, or like what were their takes on it? As
yeah.
you grew up and started to think about career path, what was important to them that maybe they
Hmm.
instilled into you, or maybe they didn't provide any of that guidance?
Yeah, so for my parents, because all they really know is like the traditional, like go to school, get a really good job, buy a house and like have some kids. Like that was like, like their path for me. That's what they really wanted. But for whatever reason, for me, I've always been sort of like a rebel. I always kind of like wanted to go like not against like what my parents say, but I didn't want to go their traditional path just because they said to. And I've always had like a lot of interest, and so yeah, I mean, for them, they really just wanted me to become a nurse, and I just didn't feel like that was like the path for me. I didn't really want to do it. I couldn't see myself like just going to nursing school, graduating, and then just working as a nurse for the rest of my life, and then just like that's my life. I really wanted to make something of myself, and so yeah, I've always sort of been entrepreneur minded. I tried different like ventures like in high school and college, and now I guess you could consider like what I'm doing now still like having like my own business. And so yeah, after seeing like the, I guess, success of like, or like what I've been able to build, they've accepted like what I've been able to do, and now they're super proud of me. So
So you say, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I just
We're probably going to the same place, but go ahead.
probably I think I'm a stepping stone before it, so that's let me go. But I guess was physical therapy kind of like, did that symbolize or represent your parents' vision for you? Was that like your attempt to try to like take on what they wanted for you, but in a way that wasn't nursing? Is that am I
exactly,
understanding?
that was
Yeah.
my
So
compromise. I was like,
right.
okay, look, I'm not gonna go. I was like, all right, mom, dad, I'm not gonna go to school for nursing. I just like
So
can't deal
then
with like blood and like all that stuff. But here, I'll meet you in the middle. I'll do physical therapy. At least I'm still in like the healthcare field. But now it's just like nah, I just can't. I can't do it. I just don't want to go to school for another 3 years. I don't want to take out loans, like be in debt and like spend all my life like just repaying that back. So yeah,
So what was their like initial reaction or impression of your pursuit in real estate?
yeah. I mean, they were nervous about it. I mean, my dad had attempted to do real estate back in the day, and he wasn't able to succeed. So like,
Can we get a
not
quote
like,
unquote exactly what they said verbatim?
yeah, you're making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
You're making a mistake. And like, I'm not so sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, after saying, like me closing my first deal and like just having, because like with real estate, it's 100% commission, right? So like, but I've been able to um, uh, close deals consistently, and so they've been able to see that. So like now they're like a little less worried. They're like, okay, he's gonna be all right.
So I think that's a good just uh, tidbit of like, because I experienced something similar, but I think parents, generally speaking, for the most part, always want what's best for us.
Yes.
A lot of times they just don't know what's best for us, and they're obviously shaped. Their perspective is shaped by their own reality and their experiences, which have been much different than yours. You know, your parents grew up in, you said, the Philippines. Is that right?
Yep.
So, you know, they've obviously got a totally different perspective on what it means to live a successful life. But I kind of figured that would be the case. That's usually the case. Is parents are generally like, "Whoa, whoa, what are you doing?" And then as they see you succeed, which is not even just parents, it's everybody, a lot of people around you. It's like, "Why would you do that? Don't go that route." And then you do it, and it's like, "Yeah, good job. You know, I always believed in you." And so I think that's a good little message there. But I guess like, what's been the most up to this point in your life, what's been the most challenging period of life for you, or the challenging moment? Like, what comes to mind when I ask that question?
What comes to mind when I ask that question, or when you ask that question? Challenging. Um, I would say at this point in my life, something that's been, challenging is I have a lot of thoughts, or like I tend to compare myself a lot with like, especially like my friends right now. Like my friends right now, they are my core group of friends right now. They're like younger than me, and I would say like they're quote unquote like more successful than I am in terms of like making more like money. And so like I tend to do that a lot where, I'm like, man, like these guys are living in like penthouses, but they're like significantly younger and their business are like way bigger than mine. And, but like I love them and I root for them. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, like, why don't I have that? And so I always think about that. But then, I always just try to like recenter myself and just say like, these are like, I'm on my own path basically. So just like learning to accept like where I'm at in life, and like at some point, like I'm gonna get there.
I guess now that you're bringing up sort of definitions of success and things that um, maybe keep you up at night,
Yeah,
or for the sake of a pun, take up real estate in your mind. Um, I'm curious, throughout this journey as like starting up your own business, carving out your own path, which by the way is no easy feat, right? I wouldn't know, at least not firsthand, right? But I'm curious, like, what have you learned about your own kind of set of values? Like, what are the things that you value?
yeah,
And I would imagine you've taken some time to really like center yourself around that as you've kind of carved your own path. What
yeah,
have those values started to like bubble up as?
yeah. For me, values have been like my health. Just being able to simply get out of bed in the morning, avoid being injured, avoid having any sickness. Like my health has been I've been valuing a lot. And then my relationships. I feel, and I always pray, and like I'm very grateful for the relationships that I have in my life, whether it be, my relationships with my parents. I've always had a really great relationship with them, and I really hold on to that because I know that at some point they're not going to be here. So like just each and every single day, like being grateful that I have amazing parents that have been willing to sacrifice parts of their lives in order for my brother and I to have the life that we have now and the opportunities that we have now. So that my friendships, I've been able to hold on to really close relationships from like high school and college, and build a really solid group of friends here in the city. So like that, and then also just like my time. being able to do what I want with my time, um, that has been something that I've been being able to value, whether it be, like my job, it doesn't feel like work to me. So like, it feels like I choose to work because I want to, and then like because I'm in the position that I'm now, if I decide to travel, like I can travel because I want to, and so like I've been able to. Those are like some of the things that I find myself like really valuing in my life.
Yeah. So I guess like going kind of back to social media, what's it like to kind of, I don't want to say blow up overnight because I don't know if you did blow up overnight, but you mentioned you've been doing it for a year and a half. So to amass the following that you have over the last 12 to 18 months, I mean, what's that like? I even think about my sister who had, I mean, she's got a, at the time 500 followers on TikTok, like very rarely posts. And she sent this funny video to my family, to our family chat. It was like this dog, like sitting in just the most funny pose, like the most funny pose ever. Like she's walking by and she's like, "Oh my God, look at this dog!" Like just like looking at the window. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's adorable. You should post that to TikTok." And she's like, and so she did, and it went viral.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's got 500 followers. That video got 15 million views.
Wow.
15 million. She had, you can go look at the post, every single brand commenting on it. She had Barstool reached out to her, so that Barstool reposted it. She had magazine interviews asked, like lined up, and it went viral for a moment. Gained like 5,000 followers. Point being, she mentioned to me, she's like, I can see why like influencers struggle with this so much because like that hit of dopamine, and she was like, I constantly was checking my phone is so real.
Yeah.
So I'm curious like what that's been like to just experience such a growth in social media and everything that comes along with it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I would say like it was a very similar situation. Like I think after my third video, it went super viral, and at the time, viral for me was like a couple 100,000 views, and then like when I had a video reach like 9 million, like that was nuts. And so it's been it's been interesting because like you have that one video that goes viral, and then like now you're just trying to chase that each and every single time that you post. You know what I mean? So you're constantly like,
Now you have a
after you
new
post the
benchmark that
video.
you're comparing against. Well, if I don't hit 9 million, then
Exactly,
it was a failure.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, you're after posting, you're looking at the statistics, you're looking at the comments, you're reading the comments, you see some good, you see some negative. Most of the comments could be like positive, but then like the one negative comment that you see like ruins your day, and you're just like, like you let that dictate your day. So that's been really interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's overall it's been really really positive, because I know that the message that I'm trying to put out there, or like what I'm trying to do with my page, that's what keeps me going, which is spreading positive news about like Chicago, just sharing like what this city has to offer. And like me personally, maybe I'm a little bit biased, especially with me being a real estate agent, but I just think this city is so awesome. And I know that with social media, there's Chicago's portrayed as this like danger zone, like don't move there and stuff like that. And that's like my one mission with like my page is to inspire people and like showcase like the different parts of the city, and show how you can really thrive here. And like there's a lot of amazing people here, and a lot of amazing restaurants, and like the scene just in general is just really awesome. So
And so how have you, because I think about, the video of like the one that we did,
yeah.
and I'm looking at the comments, and I mean, they were mostly positive for the, you have people that were, what's he doing? He's paying way too much, and like I care less about all that. But I will say when it comes to like my work, I gather surveys after survey data after the speeches that I give, and I remember the other day I did one and I had 40 positive reviews. It was great, inspiring, authentic, yada yada. And then I remember I had one that was like, it was too long. and it was too high level or something like that. It was something negative. And I just remember my brain just focusing on that one. And it's
Yeah.
like, I know I shouldn't be, but for whatever reason, we are so consumed by that negative feedback. So I'm curious because obviously you're posting quite a bit. How has your relationship with social media evolved over time and kind of work dealing with some of the negative feedback? I know some people won't look at the comments. Obviously, it's a little different for you because like you're showcasing other people in some scenarios, so the comments are often about those people. But I just would be curious for your perspective there.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, someone's always going to have something to say, whether it be positive or negative. And the ones that are positive, or the ones that are negative, um, I feel like there's always something that's going on in their lives for them to kind of, for them to like trigger, like typing out whatever they're going to say and like posting it. So I always just like view it as like just general criticism. I don't try to like look too deep into it. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my relationship with like the negative comments and like my like social media in general, I guess.
And then what's like what's the best story that you've got? I remember when we talked, like you were like, I couldn't believe some of these stories I've heard from people. Like,
Yeah.
what's the best story that you've heard from somebody that you've interviewed?
Yeah, so there was one that I did not too long ago, actually. It was this super sweet lady named Faith Jones. She was homeless for a good portion of her life. I think she was been homeless for like 8 or 9 years. She would go up and down the streets of Chicago panhandling, and she, never knew like where her next meal would come from and things like that. Um, Somehow she was able to, like start doing Uber. And so she started doing Uber in like the first stages of like the app coming out. So at the time they were paying her really, really well. So she was busting her tail, driving, all hours of the day. And she was able to, get out of homelessness doing that. And from there, she was able to like get her apartment. So if you see on my page, her apartment tour, it's that apartment that she's living in now. And so like when I first walked in, she had this like mural in the entryway of Chicago, and she would point out that it was a reminder from like where she came from. She would point out like parts on like Kinsey Street, like that's where she used to panhandle, and like like another street over downtown. Like she said, that's where she would like go through the garbage can just to like get something to eat because she couldn't afford anything. But I just thought her story was like so awesome because she was able to basically come from zero, and then like now she has like her own car service business. And from there, even from like our video, she just got so much positive feedback. She got like an overwhelming amount of business. And so yeah, she would just she hits me up like every now and then, just like thanking me for like me just giving the opportunity to be on the page. And I'm just like, no, like thank you for sharing your story and like how you came from being homeless to becoming the queen of Uber to having like your own business, and now you're able to like take care of yourself. And yeah, I think up to this point, that's probably been the most incredible story and the best apartment tour and person that I've like filmed with so far.
So I guess, given it seems like content creation, the social media world has only amplified your ability to be successful in real estate. Given your entrepreneurial mindset, like, are there greater ambitions beyond real estate? Do you view this as like a stepping stone to something else now that you see kind of the power of what you can do with content creation? Like, what are the current aspirations for you now? Like, what's next for you, if anything, or is it just continuing to like chart this path?
Yeah. For right now, it's just continuing to kind of like do what I'm doing with like TikTok and like Instagram and like short form content. But I want to be able to at some point, like, I don't know, maybe build some sort of like media company and do like full like apartment tours and like create like a almost like a Netflix series on like YouTube or something like that of like apartment tours maybe. Um, but I was mentioning to Matt, I do definitely want to get into like buying and selling and helping the clients that I'm working with now either purchase their first home or like purchase investment properties in Chicago. And who knows, maybe one day open my own like brokerage with the following that I have and be able to have like my own like actual business and be like a full service for clients through social media.
I feel like everyone wants to be a real estate agent. Maybe not just these days. I feel like generally speaking, it's like a. I was listening to a podcast the other day. Now they were talking about being a real estate agent in Dubai, so I don't know if that's different. But point being, it sounds like everyone wants to be a real estate agent. So I guess like two part, but like what's been the most fulfilling part of your job and what you do? But then also like what's been the most difficult part? What do people not see, whether it be directly tied to what you do as a real estate agent, or whether it be tied to social media? Like, what's been the most challenging part of that role as well?
Yeah. I mean, the most fulfilling part really is just like helping a client from A to Z, like find a home, and like whenever you get that message of them like on their lease start day and you following up with them just saying, hey, like how'd the move-in go, and they're like, Dean, thank you so much for helping us find this place, like we literally could not have found this place if we hadn't gotten in contact with you, like we really really appreciate your help. So that's definitely the most fulfilling part, and the most challenging part I would say is when you have given everything to that client and you feel like you've put in a lot of effort into helping them with their search and like sending them every single option, and like none of what they none of what you like showed them or like sent them like meets their criteria, and then like they ghost you. You just feel like, damn, like where did I go wrong? Like I really thought that I was giving them the best service. You never hear from them again. It's kind of like you're flirting with a girl and you think things are going well, and then all of a sudden, like boom, just like ghost you, cut off. You're like, what just happened? And then you just kind of like beat yourself up for it. So I guess that would be like the most challenging part.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I'm not a real estate agent, but I'll tell you what, I cannot stand when I've had, now if you ghost me and I've just sent you a message, we haven't spoken, cool. Like I don't expect that. I don't think anybody owes me a response. But if we've had at least one conversation, sometimes two or three,
Yeah.
and you owe me, not necessarily owe me, but like you're owing me some sort of response. We left off somewhere, if the ball's in your court, and you just ghost. I take serious issue with that, and I think about that a lot. That really bothers me because in this, I've given a lot of time, effort, uh, etc. Put together materials. You mentioned you search, and then people just don't respond. It's like all you got to tell me is, "Hey, plans change. We're no longer interested. It's outside our budget. We went a different direction. Whatever it might be, that's fine." I guess like you mentioned, you beat yourself up. Like, how do you deal with that? Is which often out of your control. But man, that really irks me. I'll tell you what.
It stinks,
That
man.
yeah,
Especially
it's
like
the worst.
especially after you've like if you've gotten to a point where you've taken out a client on like a full day of showings. And for example, like I had this one client where I did literally everything. We did showings. They ended up submitting an application to a building. Unfortunately, they got denied. I sent him some, alternative options that I thought would be a good fit. He said that he was going to apply, and then like I followed up with him to see like where he was at. Nothing for like weeks. Up to this point, I followed up with him, like nothing. I'm like, dude, like I thought we were like cool, you know what I mean? Like you said, if plans change, that's totally okay. Or if you ended up finding something on your own, like that's totally okay. But we've been working together for the past week, 2 weeks. Like you could at least give me some sort of like closure on what's been going on.
MD, what's your perspective on this?
Yeah, I mean, I follow a lot of like people in B2B sales. That's my world. And where sellers are out here trying to like advocate for, not being, you know, having more self-respect for their time, right? And like not just their time, but I think what Kobe's describing here is like it's kind of robbing you of your peace to just constantly be ghosted and to, so I don't know to what extent you guys already do this, but we call them breakup emails. And I mean, it plays to Dean's metaphor or analogy around the dating piece, but you almost kind of create a sense of like urgency or finality, if you will. And it's a one sentence, just, hey, following up once more, I'll assume silence means you lost interest or this isn't a priority anymore, but this will be the last time I'm following up kind of thing. So it really kind of allows you to kind of take that front foot and put the ball back in their court. And it's just like you're the one losing almost. It's just like your loss kind of sentiment, but also it allows you to move on. And essentially, if you are going to ever hear back from this person, you're not mentally waiting for it anymore. So it's just kind of fail fast, lose fast, like move on kind of thing. So, yeah, but it's a real thing. Like the junior sellers, people who are new to the game, like they'll rob themselves of peace, because they latch onto every lead. And the reality is these leads, they go cold fast, they grab onto the competitor next door, or the priorities shift and they're no longer interested in, what you're selling anymore. And so, yeah, it'll take you for a roller coaster if you if you get attached to leads, even though, those conversations will, those first conversations will be dreamy and you'll get excited about them.
Hell yeah. Like, oh my God, yeah, we're so excited to send over a proposal, yada, yada, yada. And then it's like, well, where'd you go?
Yeah.
Which is especially challenging, which I'm assuming, Dean, you're relatively new to real estate, although you said you got a lot of leads coming in. But point being, like, the newer you are, the more precious those leads are. Like, it's not like as a newer business owner or a newer real estate agent, you've got people flooding you to, like, work with you. And so that's been something that I've personally been working through. Is like sometimes you have to, you are respecting yourself. I had one person this week. This week was the third time she's canceled a meeting on me 10 minutes before. And it's like, oh, there's always an excuse. I had this come up, or I had this come up. And she's got a booking link, so I've continuously just, no problem, I'll reschedule. But I said this time, I just said, you know what? Have a great weekend, but I'm done, because at some point it's like, at what point are you going to like not, like, it's like a loss of respect for yourself almost. That's how it feels for me. It's like, I'm not going to continue, like, the more time you spend on people where you feel you have to like push and prove your worth, the less time that you have to welcome people that see your worth, that see your value. So I know we're kind of going off a tangent, but I agree, Dean. I cannot stand multiple conversations and then just go ghost. I would never. Personally, I would never do that. I mean, it takes 15 seconds to be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, we had something come up," or whatever it might be. And you can lie. Shoot, just tell me.
Yeah, honestly, I would accept the lie. You know what I mean? I'd be like, that's totally cool. At least I can just, leave you alone.
I'll say the resurfacing one last time thing that's worked, and then other times people still just won't respond. I'm like, all right, I mean, whatever, like that's cool. I don't get it, but to each their own. Anyways, Dean, our last question that we ask all of our guests, and this could be just life more broadly. What in life are you most proud of?
What in life am I most proud of?
I love watching people think about the answer.
Yeah.
How long do people usually think on this and ponder?
No, I mean, sometimes people will give an answer like right away, like my family, if they have kids, like my kids, or, but other times it's like,
Yeah.
to ponder.
I think the one thing that I'm most proud of is knowing that I had a higher plan for myself and kind of like I had a lot of trust in myself to not follow like my parents' plans or like what they wanted for me, but sticking to that, going through with it, and actually getting there. And now that I've done that, they're more proud of me than ever. I think they're more proud of me like now than like had I had gone to like their path and like gone like to nursing school or whatever. So just like sticking to my guns, trusting in myself, and like having what I have today.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Living authentically, man. It's hard.
Yeah.
Definitely something to be proud of. All right, Dean Lauvina, everybody. Thank you, Dean.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.